through your leadership, that beauty will be translated into performance of the county government of Elgeyo-Marakwet. Elgeyo-Marakwet has produced one of the longest-serving senators in this house, Kipchumba Murkomen. He's now our able minister, or CS, for transport and roads. We look forward to a delivering department just like he delivered when he was a senator here. As far as Kilifi is concerned, this is the parliament that gave honor and recognition to Kilifi. Guests from home in Kilifi, did you know that history was remade? The first speaker of the Senate in 1963, Right Honorable Choge, was from Kilifi. And the current speaker, Right Honorable Kingi, is from Kilifi. And what is more, Speaker Kingi was elected by both sides of the House. He was not opposed at all. A lot of honor to the people of Kilifi. And what's more, the leader of the minority is also from Kilifi. He's a very good man. The only problem with him is that sometimes he has bad manners of running in a tracksuit on a day when there is no race. And he ends up annoying the police. I therefore welcome you, people of Kilifi, and finally the people of Kakamega County. Kakamega County, allow me to tell them, Mr. Speaker, that I really regret that for 10 years, Mr. Speaker, the committee of JLAC has not been in existence in Kakamega. This is the first time JLAC is being formed in Kakamega. How the Speaker of Kakamega worked for 10 years making law without this department, it beats logic. And given that he was a lawyer, posterity is really going to judge him badly. I want to encourage the members of JLAC from Kakamega that just like here, the committee of JLAC, the committee of budget and finance, the committee of public accounts and investment, any government that does not have those strong committees cannot succeed. Therefore, as we carry the shame, Mr. Speaker, on the rating of the performance of county assemblies in Kenya, Kakamega County Assembly is number 46 out of 47. So I hope that now this committee is there, we will move from number 46 to number 1. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome them all.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On behalf of Senate also, Honorable Speaker, I wish to welcome the teams from Elgeyo-Marakwet County, Kilifi, and Kakamega to Senate. Elgeyo-Marakwet County, Honorable Speaker, is a county of champions. If you see most of the people who win in the marathon and other athletics, Honorable Speaker, are from Elgeyo-Marakwet County. So this county is a good county, and you know the former majority leader, before he was sacked last parliament, was also from Elgeyo-Marakwet County, and he did very well in this house. He is also started doing very well in the executive as the CS in charge of infrastructure and transport, Honorable Speaker. I welcome all of them to Senate. Use the opportunity that you've come to Senate, both the three counties, to learn, get something that you will take back to our counties so that you add value as you serve in those three counties, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, Kilifi, and Kakamega. And especially those who are very lucky now is Kilifi, because Kilifi is, they have the minority leader here, they have the Speaker of the Senate. And I want to declare also, Honorable Speaker, that I have an interest in Kilifi because my firstborn has worked there for close to about 4 years at Cambridge doing a PhD. I have a lot of interest in Kilifi. So perform and deliver for the people, because we've been given opportunities to serve. So Elgeyo-Marakwet County, go back and say hi to our people. And I say thank you very much for also giving me an opportunity to serve you as your second senator in this house. God bless you all.
Senator Wambo.
Thank you, the Speaker, for this opportunity to also join you and my colleagues to welcome the delegations from Kilifi, Kakamega, and Elgeyo-Marakwet. The Speaker, I've listened to the words of Senator Boni Alwale on how gracious God has been to the people of Kilifi. That you started off the house of the Senate back in the days. And today, the Speaker of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is from Kilifi, and the very able leader of the minority is also the Senator of Kilifi. To the people of Kilifi, we welcome you to the Senate and urge you, when you go back to Kilifi, then join hands with these leaders, these great leaders in this nation, to wipe off, the Speaker, some little shame that is coming out of that county of people invading private farms and claiming ownership. If we take that direction, we are going to lose this country. To the people of Elgeyo-Marakwet, yes, it is true that it's a county that has produced runners and champions. But there is also some little shame that is creeping into that county, Mr. Speaker. We are being treated to news of bandits taking over the county, including going to take one of their own from a hospital bed. That's not a very good story. For the people of Kakamega, yes, Senator Boni Alwale has reminded us that the assembly has operated without jailer committee for 10 years. It's a shame, but I'm very sure Senator Alwale would also want to bear a bit of that shame, because between 2013 and 2017, Senator Boni Alwale was the senator of Kakamega. Now we hope that this time round, JLAC would do a good job in Kakamega and improve the ratings of that county. The Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
The chairperson of the Standing Committee on Trade.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 12th April 2023. Report on the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism on the County Licensing Uniform Procedures 2022, Senate Bills number 9 of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I lay.
The chairperson of Standing Committee on Agriculture. Any member can actually lay the paper, one on behalf of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 12th April 2013. Report of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries on the Agriculture and Livestock Extension Service Bill 2022, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022. For the chairman, Mr. Speaker, I lay.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
The statements pursuant to Standing Order 52, the Honorable Senator Hezena Lematian. Deferred. Pursuant to Standing Order 56 1B, the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Information Technology and Communication. If they're not ready, we can call the other committees, because we have 2 statements to receive from, no, there are 3 statements to be received. One is from the Information and Technology. The other one is from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. Then the third one is from the Chairperson of the Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. Are the 3 chairpersons ready to give their statements? Honorable Senator, if you're ready, proceed. Take the floor. That's Labor. Kindly proceed. And just so you know, your statement should be 10 minutes or less.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I lay this paper on the table of the Senate relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare pursuant to the Standing Order 56, 1 and B for the period from 8th September 2022 to 11th April 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56, 1B to make statement on the Committee of the activities of Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare for the period commencing on 8th September 2022 to 11th April 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 50, considered 3 bills and 3 petitions and 22 statements. The committee also considered 2 legislative proposals. In respect of the bills, the following were considered: the Employment Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 11 of 2022, the Persons with Disability Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 7 of 2023, the Heritage and Museum Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 8 of 2023, legislative proposals of both bills. The committee has considered the Employment Amendment Bill 2023, held public participation, and tabled its report in the House. On the Persons with Disability Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 7 of 2023, the committee has placed an advertisement on the local dailies calling for submissions on 24th March 2023. The committee is scheduled to hold a shareholder engagement on Thursday, April 2023, after which it will sit to consider the submissions and write the report on the bill. With regards to the Heritage and Museum Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 8, 2023, the committee has placed an advertisement on the local dailies calling on, for submissions on March 2023. The committee is scheduled to hold a shareholder engagement on Thursday, the 18th April 2023, after which it will sit to consider submissions and write reports on the bill. The committee also considered legislative proposals on the above-mentioned 3 bills. Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to petitions, the committee considered 3 petitions during the period under review as follows. Petition by Mr. James Muriu Kagonga and other residents of Lamu, Baringo, Nairobi, and on Linda Soka, tapping into 302 billion football economy. The committee has met with petitioners and is scheduled to meet with the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs on Friday, 25th April 2023. A petition by Kimtai Kirui and Mr. Jepses Arab Koech concerning illegal fraud by the First Choice Recruitment and Consultancy Agency. The committee has met with the petitioners and scheduled a meeting with the other stakeholders. Petition by Dr. David Finji Atela and others on the unfair terms of conditions for the universal health coverage staff and delay in internship posting. The committee is scheduled to meet the petitioners on Thursday, 24th May 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding statements pursuant to Standing Order 52.1, where a senator may make a statement on a matter of county-wide, inter-county, national, regional, or international concern, or matter of general topical concern, 3 statements were referred to the committee. The committee is as follows in response to the statements from the ministries. Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53.1, 22 statements were referred to the committee. Each committee has concluded on 4 of the statements, which others are in various stages of committee consideration. The statement include the statement concerning the status of white-collar employment laid off in 2009 at the Kenya Ports Authority. The statement concerning the on-board process of employees in Marsabit county government, and statement concerning order person cash transfer program, and statement concerning the skewed distribution of relief food in Kirinyaga County, on the statement concerning the plight of immigrant workers in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the committee met with Ministry of Labor and Social Protection and National Employment Authority on the matter. The committee also has had opportunity to travel to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for a study tour and review of bilateral labor agreement. The committee is scheduled to meet the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs and the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection before adopting the report for tabling in the House. The committee is scheduled to meet the National Treasury and Ministry of Labor and Social Protection on Tuesday, 25 April 2023. The statement by Senator Enoch Wambua, MP, on the payment of one-off honorarium for former councillors of now defunct local authorities. The committee has also scheduled a meeting with the Vihiga government on Tuesday, the May 2023, to consider the statement by Senator Geoffrey Osotsi concerning the human resource audit process in Vihiga County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is awaiting responses from Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports and the acts of the following statements. Statement concerning the exemplary performance by athletes Eliud Kipchoge and Kipruto and Joyce Chepkoskei in Berlin and London marathons, respectively. Statement concerning the establishment of and management of sports and training in the counties. Statement concerning the management of athletes in the county following poor performance at the Tokyo of 2021 Olympics, and statement concerning plans by government to launch a bottom-up football tournament in all 47 counties. Honorable Speaker,
Senator Hezana, you cannot walk from one side to the other. There's a procedure to be followed if you need to move from one side to the other. So you're out of order. Kindly abide by the rules.
The committee is also waiting response of the following. Statement concerning the African Fashion Week, statement concerning discrimination of levels in recent employment or at Bomet University, statement concerning the status and welfare of Baby Junior Sagini, statement on regional and welfare of people living with disability, statement on status of database pledge of Inua Jamii program, statement concerning non-remittance of statutory deduction by county government of Marsabit, statement on reflection and use of appropriate scheme of service for clinical officers, statement on rampant sexual abuse in plantations owned by James Fidley, Kenya Limited in Kericho and Bomet, statement on status of older persons older persons cash transfer program in Embu, statement on employment of pension and pension to retired employees of the Kenya Corporation, Kenya Railway, statement on the state of labor experts from Kenya, and statement concerning a claim of inaccurate data of persons with disabilities as reflected on the national census of 2019. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee conducted inquiries on two of the statements, namely the plight of Kenya immigrant workers in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and also counties in the Middle East, and the payment of one-off honorarium in pension, for pension of former councillors in defunct local authorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, on foreign visits, as stated earlier, the committee was invited by the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to be part of the delegation to Saudi Arabia for fact-finding mission and view bilateral labor agreement with Kingdom from 7th to 14th January 2023. The committee will table the report after holding a follow-up meeting with the relevant stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee has held conduct a retreat held on one stakeholder engagement on the People with Disability Bill. With regard to county visits, the committee visited Kericho County on matters of sexual harassment of workers in tea farms and visited Kisii.
Honorable Senator, kindly conclude. You've gone beyond the allowable time, that is 10 minutes. So you can proceed, you can actually proceed to lay. Senators can conclude the part that you're here to conclude on. As long as you've laid it, senators will be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I lay.
Thank you. The Chairperson Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. Senator Munye Haj, what is your point of order? We will take comments on the three statements.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56, 1B of the Senate Standing Orders to make statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Lands, Environment and Natural Resources during the first part of the second session, that is 14th October 2022 to 31st March 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate Standing Committee on Lands, Environment and Natural Resources is established under Standing Order 2283 of the Standing Orders, and in the mandate to consider all matters relating to lands and settlement, environment, forestry, wildlife, mining, water resources, management and development. During this period, Mr. Speaker, sir, under review, the committee held a total of 16 sittings, during which it considered 1 bill, 24 statements, 2 messages, and tabled 1 report. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee considered the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bills number 6 of 2022. Honorable Speaker, sir, the bill was referred to the committee on 1st of December 2022 following its introduction in the Senate and by way of the first reading. the committee facilitated public participation pursuant to provisions of Article 118 of the Constitution and the Standing Order 145.5 of the Standing Order of the Senate Standing Orders, and prepared its report, which was tabled to the Senate on 21st March 2023, proposing the amendments on the bill. Honorable Speaker, sir, the 24 statements I have mentioned is as listed. And Honorable Speaker, sir, on the remainder of the statements, the committee is scheduled to meet the Ministry of Lands, Public Works and Housing and Urban Development on all the pending statements. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the remainder of the final set of statements, which is mainly to respond to the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, the committee was scheduled to meet the Ministry for them to respond on all matters pending within their mandate on 18th April 2023, and the pending statements are as listed. On the messages, Honorable Speaker, sir, the committee is currently considering 2 messages from the County Assembly of Nyandarua, and the 2 messages are as listed. Honorable Speaker, sir, on the committee induction and stakeholder engagements, Honorable Speaker, the committee conducted its inductions retreat from 2nd to 5th of February 2023 and met the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, and the National Land Commission. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and the Office of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. Lastly, I also wish to thank the members of the committee for their commitment and diligence in contributions during the committee activities. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir, and I lay the statement.
The Chairperson Standing Committee on ICT. That is deferred. There's a statement pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 by Senator Hezena. Yes, what is your point of order?
I thought you had guided Senator Faki and many of us who are waiting.
Very well,
that you will allow us to make comments.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't this be the best time?
So, under Standing Order 56, we have 20 minutes for comments and interventions on those statements. So, we may proceed. Majority Leader, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very brief because I am cognizant of the fact that we have 20 minutes only and almost every colleague wants to speak something. So I'll limit myself maybe to 2 minutes at most, Mr. Speaker. And first, appreciate the work that has been done by the various committees, the 2 committees that have laid their statements today, Committee on Labor and the Committee on, I forget the name, Lands, sorry, Mr. Speaker. Updating the House of the various either statements, petitions, or bills that they are considering. Mr. Speaker, I was only concerned because looking through the House, Mr. Speaker, and I hope I had the wrong impression, I expected colleagues to either be writing down on works that is pending before this committee, what has been concluded, because I know each of the business that a committee considers, Mr. Speaker, is driven or extracted out of either a request by colleagues or something that concerns the various counties, Mr. Speaker. Be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that this is a new practice that we want to set up as a House so that we can measure our chairpersons and see which are the committees that are taking their work seriously, that can bring a report and say, out of maybe 15 statements, we have been able to settle 10, we have 5 that are pending. Out of 2 petitions, 1 is concluded. And you know that the time for petitions is 60 days, but we are able to turn around in 30 days, Mr. Speaker. And there is a bill that is before us. We have done the report, public participation. You know, any task that doesn't have a way of measuring it, Mr. Speaker, is not a task that is worth undertaking. I appreciate that now we have set in place a mechanism through which we can measure the output of our committees, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps we can move even further, Mr. Speaker, only that this is just by the beginning. Committee chairpersons, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, don't have very rosy reports about the work that is ongoing in our committees. We have each committee of this House that has 9 members. Unfortunately, when you listen to the various chairpersons, Mr. Speaker, they'll tell you that they are lucky on most days if they raise a quorum of 5. That is something that should worry us as a House, Mr. Speaker. And I wish to encourage that if for one reason or the other, that you feel that you serve in a committee which either your talents are not well aligned or for one reason or the other, Mr. Speaker, it's good to approach the weak from your side of the House, Mr. Speaker, and have them redeploy you where you will best serve. Because I know there are colleagues who will give us best service if they were deployed to certain committees, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important exercise that we have begun, and I hope we can carry on, receive the reports of all the various committees and measure them so that progressively, in fact, Mr. Speaker, you know I was taught in school that apart from reporting by prose, the most effective way to give a report is by diagrams as well, either by charts or by tables. I believe, Mr. Speaker, in the next report that these committees will give, they'll have a chart that will compare what report they give based on the outputs that are mentioned on the business that is before them. Today being the 12th of April, and the next one that they will give subsequently after, be it a month or 2, Mr. Speaker. That way we will be able to judge our committees and appreciate the work that they are doing. You know, with this, Mr. Speaker, it will not now be just a CPIC that will have full membership for reasons that we do not want to indulge in, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Munyahaji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kutoa maoni juu ya ripoti zilizowasilishwa na kamati mbili muhimu ya ardhi na ya leba. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuhusiana na kamati ya leba, ni kweli maendeleo ambayo yamefanyika ni mazuri kwa kamati na kwa bunge letu la Senate, lakini ni masikitiko kwamba imechukua muda kidogo kuweza kukamilisha ile ripoti inayohusiana na shida zinazowapitia wafanyaji kazi wetu ambao wako katika nchi za Uarabuni, hususan Saudi Arabia na nchi nyingine za Guba. Mheshimiwa Spika, safari ilifanywa mwezi wa Januari tarehe 7 na kufikia sasa ni karibu miezi mitatu imepita, hatujaweza kukamilisha ripoti hii. Kuna mambo mengi ambayo yalikuwa yamezungumziwa katika safari ambayo tulifanya kule Saudi Arabia, na vile kamati ambayo ilikuwa inahudumu katika masuala ya leba mwaka 2017 2022 walikuwa pia wamefanya ziara katika nchi hiyo, lakini masikitiko ni kwamba yale ambayo yalipendekeza kutekelezwa hayajakuwa yametekelezwa na wizara pamoja na taasisi nyingine za serikali. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, ningeomba kwamba kamati iharakishe swala hili kwa sababu ni swala ambalo liko hai kila siku. Kila siku tunapata ripoti kama hizo, na itakuwa si vizuri wakati sisi tunakaa hapa na tunaacha mambo kama hayo yanaweza kupita. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Kathuri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity also to make a brief comment. Honorable Speaker, I would really want to thank you and the SBC for giving my liaison committee, the chairs, time to come and to brief the House the progress in their committees. We requested through you, and we are happy that we requested this. Honorable Speaker, as the chair, I've really realized that there is something that we really need to fine-tune, especially because we have only 10 minutes for the chair to present the report. So in our maybe subsequent meetings, we'll be able to discuss how we can very briefly, maybe to bring down the report as brief as possible so that we can stick to our timelines, because I can see chairs have been really struggling to shorten the time. So we are happy and we'll be continue giving the 3 months report. And at the end of the year, Mr. Speaker, as we agreed during our induction or the chair's retreat, we shall be at the end of the year be able, with this progress, be able to have a Senate Day, which has never happened again, but with this Senate, we have a Senate Day that will be able to give the public, the Republic of Kenya, on live media coverage on the progress of the Senate. Nobody will ever talk about us. It is only us, the senators and the Senate, including the Honorable Speaker, that will be able to tell the public what we have been doing. They will hear, and also what we intend to cover as we proceed in our 5-year term. So, Mr. Speaker, I thank you and want to congratulate the chairs, those who have already presented, and those others who are still on the ride. I didn't want to encourage them, but let us be as brief as possible so that also we don't into the time of other Senate business. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the chairs of various committees for the progress reports, and I wish to say that this is a very effective way of measuring performance of the committees. But how I wish even the turnaround time for issues in the committee should be improved. Mr. Speaker, the chair has alluded to a matter which I presented to the committee regarding ghost workers in Vihiga County. I am aware they have done a lot of work around it, but I expected that this matter be resolved within the shortest time possible, because this is a cancer in my county, which as a senator I've been working very hard to get it resolved. So with the cooperation of the committee, I expect that this matter be resolved in the shortest time possible. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the issue of former councillors. Members, you will agree, every time we go to our various counties, we face these former councillors. Some of who are living in abject poverty, others have died, and every time we face them, they tell us about their plight, and they know that this matter is before us. So I would ask the committee to speed up this matter so that these former councillors can enjoy their contribution to this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Veronica.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to compliment the chair on Labor Committee for the work they have done over the days, over the quarter. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to highlight one of the issues that has been covered by the committee, especially on the status of the immigrant domestic workers in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's commendable that they took steps, Mr. Speaker, sir, were able to have a conversation with the ministry and the cabinet secretary, and they were also able to do the trip to Saudi Arabia to do a fact-finding mission on the status of the domestic Kenyan workers, Mr. Speaker, sir. And this issue, Mr. Speaker, sir, has still not rested. And we would urge the committee, together with the chair, to ensure that it's not left behind, because this is one of the avenues that our youths are going to tap into opportunities using expatriates and using opportunities to work outside the nation of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, sir, and seeking for greener pastures. So I would urge the committee to put their fingers on this issue and ensure that even the migrant workers whom we have received reports from media as late as of yesterday that one migrant worker died in Saudi Arabia, to keep a monitor on what is happening to migrant workers, because it is an avenue that you benefit the Kenyan youth once they tap into these opportunities. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to connect this Labour Committee with the bill that has been presented to this House by Honorable Senator Mungatana On Article 43, when I listened to their report, Mr. Speaker, sir, it appears as though this committee is already oversighting on social and economic rights, and we commend them for the good work and hope that they will continue tracking the progress of those rights, how those rights are being rolled out to Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two things. One, as I join my colleagues to congratulate the chairs of committees, the Speaker, I also want to challenge them through their chair, the liaison chair, and SBC, to look for a more innovative way of delivering these reports. Otherwise, just reading reports here may become a little bit boring. There must be an innovative way of delivering the same content, but in a manner that does not take a lot of our time, and a manner that we are able to measure what chairs are doing. Secondly, the Speaker, on the chair of Labor, I see you have indicated in your report that on the 25th of this month, which is next week, you'll be meeting the Minister for the Cabinet Secretary for Finance to look into the matter of the one-off payment to former councillors. The Speaker, I want to have you here on this one, and Wakili may also benefit from this. The Speaker, on that matter of former councillors, the Speaker, can you use the authority of your chair to give a final direction of this matter? For the last 3 years, we have had these conversations about former councillors and their payments, and I know that in every county represented in this Senate, there are councillors, former councillors, who are in dire need of that just 200,000 shillings. So, Speaker, can you direct this committee that this time round, the CS should come with a final report on a date when the former councillors will be paid, so that we finish this business and get into other businesses. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Nderitu, Kenya.
Asanti, Bwana Spika. Nataka kuwashukuru wenyekiti ambao wamesoma taarifa zao hapa, Bwana Spika. Lakini hata japokuwa tunataka kuwashukuru, ni jambo ambalo linavunja moyo sana, kwa sababu, Bwana Spika, swala kama hili la madiwani limekuwa ni swala sugu na ni swala nyeti, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu limeongewa. Nakumbuka wakati Steward Mazayo alikuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati hiyo ya Leba, Bwana Spika, swala hilo tena nikaleta mjadala hapa, likaongewa wakati Senator Sakaja alikuwa ni mwenyekiti wa kamati hiyo hiyo. Sasa, Bwana Spika, linakuja linaongewa tena. Nakumbuka liletwa hapa na Senator Wambua, limeletwa hapa na Senator Cherargei. Bwana Spika, hivi sasa tunapoongea linazingatiwa na Senator Murgol akiwa mwenyekiti. Ni vizuri badala ya kukaa hapa sisi tuwe ni kusoma ripoti. Sijui watu wanatuangalia vipi, kwa sababu hili swala liliangewa zaidi kabla hatajakuja katika seneti hii, na mapendekezo yakaletwa na wakati huu aliyekuwa mwenyekiti wa Labour, Mheshimiwa Steward Mazayo, Bwana Spika. Lakini hakuna jambo lolote, ni kama sisi juma hili ni kuongea tu, na hakuna mapendekezo yoyote ambayo tunapendekeza ambayo yanafuatiliwa, Bwana Spika. Si hilo peke yake, kuna wale wafanyikazi ambao kila wakati wanasononeka, ambao wameenda katika nchi za Uarabuni, Bwana Spika. Mambo ni hayo tumekuwa tukiongea hapa. Nitarudia kwa sababu unapata yale mambo yameongewa. Ni kama ile ripoti, Bwana Spika, itachukuliwa na aliyekuwa mwenyekiti aliyepita, anampatia huyu mwingine na kufuatilia hayo bila mapendekezo yoyote kutekelezwa, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo, Bwana Spika, kile ambacho tungependa kuomba ni wenyekiti wakifanya, kwa sababu wanafanya juhudi, wanatembea sehemu ambazo zinapaswa kutembelewa, lakini, Bwana Spika, mapendekezo yakifanywa na kamati yanawekwa katika kabati, yanaozea huko ama yanapata vumbi huko, na hakuna jambo lolote linapaswa kutekelezwa, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo, Bwana Spika, kile ambacho tungependa, Bwana Spika, ni waziri, nataka kushukuru serikali ya Kenya Kwanza chini ya uongozi wake Mheshimiwa William Samoei Arap Ruto, kwa sababu mawaziri watakuwa kuja katika bunge hili Maswali ambayo wanapaswa kutujibu ni swali kama hilo waziri anayehusika, tumuulize hapa Bwana Spika, peupe kimachomacho, aweze kutuelezea mambo ya madiwani amefikisha wapi. Ndio madiwani wanaosononeka, wanaopata shida, wengine wameandikwa kuchunga. Bwana Spika, ukitembea Laikipia, waliokuwa madiwani wameandikwa kuchunga. Ukienda Bwana Spika huko Kitui, unapata wao ndio wachimba migodi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo vile ambavyo tunapaswa ni waziri akija hapa atujibu hayo maswali magumu Bwana Spika. Nashukuru na naipongeza rais kwa sababu ya kusema ya kwamba mawaziri watakuwa akija hapa tuwaulize hayo maswali badala ya waziri kujibu maswali kupitia kwa mwenyekiti. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the report by the Committee of Lands, one of the statements that was sought there, statement number 6, was actually sought by myself. And I was conferring with the chair of the committee because in the report they are saying that they have actually submitted copies of the report on the specific questions to the senators who asked that question. Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that the committee has never given me a written report on the question that I asked regarding the question of landowners who surrendered their land for the sake of putting up a power plant in Lamu. Mr. Speaker, you and me and the other members of the House Business Committee, the Senate Business Committee, we have agonized about how this thing is supposed to work. Because, Mr. Speaker, in my reading of Standing Order 53, specifically 53B, it requires that the committee may invite the senator. Yes, I am sure they did invite senators to attend, but that at the end, they prepare and table a report on the matter. So that, Mr. Speaker, if it is just a committee coming here to tell us, yes, we had X number of statements, we have sorted them out, we gave the reports to the senators, I am sure even the people of Lamu who asked me to ask that question on their behalf would have loved a situation where the committee chair, somehow, if we are able to work it out at as a Senate Business Committee, would stand here and answer the specific question and say, yes, with regards to the question of land for the Lamu power plant, this is the situation at the point the senator asked the question, this is the response we got from the ministry, so that even when those people are watching, because these proceedings are live for the benefit of the people, then it is easy for them to understand that they have gotten an answer to the question they asked. So I joined my leader, the Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Wambua, when he says we need to find another way for these statements to actually make some sense for the House and for the senators who actually request these matters. Maybe the report on the specific question that I asked was lost somewhere in the clerk's office. I want to make this request again to the clerk's office. Please supply me, because I would want to understand in what form that report was submitted to my office or to me, because I have not seen it personally, Mr. Speaker. So it would be proper. And then something else we just noticed now. Even when the committee chair is submitting those reports, Mr. Speaker, it is good practice that we all have copies of that committee, so that of that report, so that we follow as he's presenting, we can be able to follow. If there are matters that you raise as a senator, you know that it is included or not included in the report. And I believe we at the SBC, Mr. Speaker, must find a solution for this matter. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to this.
Thank you. You cannot raise a point of order. I think the Honorable Senator is already done contributing. We're going to have the very last person to make a contribution. We only have 2 minutes because we're to end at 38. 1 minute. Honorable Sigay Wakili.
Thank you. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I also would like to appreciate the chairpersons of the 2 committees that have presented their reports today, the Committee on Land and the Labour Committee. The 2 chairpersons, Honorable Speaker, deal with committees that are major factors of production when it comes to other aspects of our life out of this house. I had checked with the Committee on Labour and I sought for a statement, which I have conversed as well with the chairperson of the committee on the status of employment condition and the team that is undertaking such work at the University of Bomet. And I am concerned, just like a number of us who have spoken to the statements as issued in the timeline that has been taken by the committee to deliver the statement. I am aware that we are all working against time constraints and other very pressing issues, but I would wish to implore upon the chairpersons of the relevant committees to ensure that they do their best within good time. This is an ongoing concern. It's taken over 3 months, which I know the standing orders provides for that report to have been presented within 60 days. It is beyond that, and I am told that there is still a session they will have to have with the relevant institution for us to be able to get that report. How I would wish that we can, as committees, push ourselves beyond the comfort zone to make sure that we deliver such reports within good time. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, there is also the question that the Committee on Labour reported on sexual harassment cases that we had in the tea estates in Kericho and Bomet. These two are also equally very important. They are very emotive, and it has not only affected the people living and working within the estates, but beyond. As to the recommendations that the committee will give following their additional assignment, which I have also conversed and been informed by the chairperson that they're going to do it, it is something that is a time bomb. We rather, as a committee, push ourselves to make sure that we deal with it in good time. I want to also raise the concern that the Honorable Senator Wambua has raised in terms of the implementation of a number of these recommendations. And maybe it's time, Honorable Speaker, and this House to consider that implementation committee be put in place so that instead of the chairperson of a relevant committee being put under scrutiny for purposes of following up, could we also look at it so that we have a specifically mandated committee to follow on implementation? Remember, the Honorable Senator Mungatana has already presented the bill that is already gone through second reading for purposes of, besides the cabinet secretaries appearing to answer questions, the powers and privileges, we can also, as a house, summon the authorized personnel of various government agencies to ensure that the recommendations of all the committees of the house are at least followed, so that it doesn't become a talk show. It doesn't become a committee session that does it for purposes of doing it without follow-up for implementation. And I think, the Honorable Speaker, it is time that we look at those ones and see if it is a way to go, we go that direction. If we are able to, as chairpersons of the committees, push ourselves and follow up for implementation, we do it so that we feel the work of the committee, we feel the work of the House, and we make sure that such recommendations made are also implemented or enforced at the various levels they are applicable. I thank you, Speaker.
Senator Boni, what is your point of order? My understanding of Standing Order 98 is that you stand on a point of order if you want to bring a senator back to order, because in your understanding they're out of order. So in this case, who is out of order? Which senator is out of order? And you only raise on a point of order when a senator is speaking.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, neither Senator Sifuna nor Sigei are out of order. I'm rising on this point of order to invite you, Mr. Speaker, to reflect on the remarks by Senator Sifuna and to an extent Senator Wambua. Listening to the business we have transacted on statements, we appear to be dealing with statistics. Mr. Speaker, you need to make a determination that if we shall be using if we shall receive statements in this manner, then we might as well stop it.
So, Senator Boni, you sit, just have a seat. You sit in SBC. You do sit in SBC, is it? Senator Boni, you're a member of SBC. Am I correct?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are right.
Yes. Now,
But at the level of debate, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The reason I'm asking,
yes,
because I'm going with your suggestion. Just have a seat. The reason why I did not want to pronounce myself on these matters, because I felt we can adequately handle those matters at the SBC level. I have taken the concerns of Honorable Sifuna, the concerns of Senator Wambua, and the good input by Wakili Sigei. And I believe when you retire as SBC, we are going to come up with a better way of making sure that these statements actually respond to what we intend them to respond to. So I'm aware I may not be able to pronounce myself on those issues now because I feel the issues that we should discuss them at SBC and then come up with a better way of making sure that these statements actually give us the kind of results we're looking at. So your concerns are valid, and we're going to discuss them at the SBC. So you, Senator Kathuri, you want to inform the chair or you want to inform the House? You need permission from the House to inform.
But you know, I want really to make a contribution on this issue, Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Speaker,
honorable members, this is a house of procedure and rules. I understand some difficulties in terms of how do we operationalize some of these good things we want to, but they're not better talked at the floor of the House when the House is in session. Some of these things require us to put our heads together, but not here when the House is actually in session. Either we can discuss them at the SBC or at Akamkunji. Then a decision is held, we come and implement that. Because all these are opinions, and I know most of you have very good opinions here that may input the workings of the Senate. But this may not be the best platform for that, because immediately we sit here as a Senate, then the rules of procedure take into effect. And if that is the case, then I'm afraid I may not be able to allow those very good opinions that you have. So allow it to run through SBC, and if SBC is unable, then we can expand it to have a Kamkunji and just discuss these matters and agree. Is that fair? So next order, we had a statement pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 by Senator Hezena.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to put across that my statement had been postponed due to unavailable circumstances, and it was very timely to make it during the drought. But nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on the matter of regional concern, namely the water crisis in the northern parts of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, for decades now, water scarcity has been a major issue in the northern parts of this country, mainly caused by years of recurrent drought, poor management of water supplies, contamination of the available water, and a sharp increase in water demanding results from a relatively high population growth. The lack of rainfall also inhibits the ability of residents to acquire food and has led to eruptions of violence in this region. In many years, the shortage of water in Kenya has been amplified by the government's lack of investment in water, especially in the northern region. Mr. Speaker, sir, another population that is affected by this shortage of water are the urban poor. their access to clean water has been a challenge. This has led to reported cases of cholera epidemics and multiple other diseases that have affected their health and livelihoods. Despite this critical shortage of clean water, there is also a large rural to urban discrepancy in access to clean water in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the progress made by the county governments and other private bodies, it is important to review the causes of Kenya's water crisis to improve the situation further and to prevent future disasters. From my findings, the essential causes of water crisis in the northern parts of Kenya are drought, environmental degradation. It is grievously affecting my people. Over the past decade, the northern region of this country has experienced a severe unending drought. Global warming is one critical factor that has prolonged the drought, and as a result, millions of Kenyans living in the northern region are unable to survive and keep their livestock alive, which is their main source of livelihood. Mr. Speaker, sir, when drought strikes, many pastoralists are left to starve to death. Food aid is not sustainable, and a Marshall Plan by the government to build mega dams in each of the northern counties and to undertake water exploration in Samburu County, Turkana County, and Marsabit County is very much welcomed. This will diversify the means of livelihood and economic activities in order to curb insecurity in the region, introducing agriculture as an alternative means of livelihood. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is about time to shift our focus from poverty eradication to wealth creation. I have keenly noted that poverty eradication in this country has heavily resulted in overdependence on food aid and handouts, which are absolutely unsustainable and create a culture of laziness. Agriculture would avert banditry. It would improve livelihoods and contribute to the overall GDP of the country, given that we have 75% of the Kenya's landmass. Agriculture would completely shift focus on the endangered pastoralism and sustainable pastoralism and provide a sustainable alternative to our livelihood. Mr. Speaker, sir, widespread famine has led to the degradation of forests, desertification, and loss of livestock, and consequently, human lives. Extreme drought has hastened and heightened banditry, poverty, and school dropouts. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am unorthodoxically calling for the renaissance of an agricultural revolution in the north. The next billionaires in this world will be coming from agriculture and information, communication, and technology sectors. Agriculture is a low-hanging fruit for the vast, bare, and fertile landmass in the north. It is the most realistic approach towards youth economic and youth employment, wealth creation, conflict eradication, and most importantly, the realization of Sustainable Development Goal number 3 on good health and well-being. Mr. Speaker, sir, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will be achieved in Kenya by simply providing water to the northern parts of Kenya. Since all lizards lie on their bellies, one can hardly tell which one has stomachache. Here is a lizard that is announcing that they have a stomachache. We need water. We need to end the war. Mr. Speaker, sir, we cannot beat the drum with one finger, and I therefore call on my fellow colleagues to help me reinforce this agenda. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, the Honorable Senator Kathuri.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Loans, Transport and Housing on the state of progress in the evaluation of tenders and the commencement of drawing works of Meru Town Loans B66/A9 project phase 1. In the statement, the committee should appraise the Senate on the status of the evaluation of tenders number Kena/2536/2022 and Kena/2540/2022 for dwelling consultant services for the construction and supervision of Meru Town Loans B66/A9 phase 1 works, noting that the two tenders were closed on March 18th, 2022 and March 22nd, 2022 respectively. Number 2, state reasons for this delay in completion of evaluation process. And number 3, state when the dwelling of Meru Town Loans B66/A9 phase 1 will commence, giving the projected date of completion, stating measures, if any, being taken to ensure that the project will be completed within the scheduled timeline and budget. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senators. Before we move to the next order, I have a message from Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly. Honorable Senators, I wish to report to the Senate that I have, pursuant to Standing Order 48, 3, and 5, received a message from the clerk of Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly. The message, dated Tuesday, 14th March 2023, and communicated by way of a petition addressed to the clerk of the Senate, was received on 5th April 2023. The message communicates a resolution by the County Assembly to petition Parliament for a declaration inter alia: 1, banditry be declared a terrorist act, and bandits be declared a terrorist group, and as such, punishment attendant to the said offenses to follow, and that Parliament shall institute legislation on the same. Pursuant to Article 241(3)(c), the National Assembly approved the deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces in Kerio Valley to end the suffering of citizens there. And Parliament comes up with a long-term solution to banditry in Kerio Valley, Elgeyo Marakwet County, including but not limited to allocating resources to open up regions by putting up infrastructure for socio-economic empowerment of the people in the affected areas. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 48-7, which states, when a message from a county assembly is reported, the message shall be deemed to have been laid before the Senate, and the Speaker may A, direct that the message be dealt with forthwith, B, appoint a day for the consideration of the message, or C, refer the message to the relevant committee of the Senate for consideration. Honorable Senators, as you may be aware, Senator William Cheptumo on Thursday, 30th March 2023, gave a notice of motion on declaration of cattle rustling as a national disaster and establishment of a special fund for victims, seeking that the Senate resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, and in collaboration with the Council of Governors, declares cattle rustling as a national disaster, 1. 2, establishes a national task force on cattle rustling to 1, investigate the causes of the rampant cattle rustling in the said region and the country at large. 2, establish extent of loss and damage the cattle rustling has occasioned to the communities in all the affected counties. And 3, creates a special fund for mitigating the losses suffered by and in compensating all victims of cattle rustling and settle all internally displaced persons occasioned by the menace. In this regard, I refer the resolution by the Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly to the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. I further direct that the clerk circulates the resolution as received from the Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly to all senators so that you may familiarize yourselves with its contents. I thank you. Next order, clerk. Honorable Senators, we seek to rearrange the order paper, the business of the day, by starting with order number 10. Clerk, kindly proceed to call the order.
Order number 10, the Preservation of Human Dignity and Enforcement of Economic and Social Rights Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2022. Second reading.
Honorable Senators, this is a debate that had started before it was interrupted. And at the time of interruption, the Honorable Senator Catherine Muma, the Honorable Veronica Nduati was on the floor and had a balance of 7 minutes. Yes.
We proceeded from that point as a way of information, though I don't know whether I should be informing the chair. We did proceed yesterday, and I covered my final minutes on that debate, and it proceeded on, and there was further debate from other senators. It's Senator Catherine Muma who has 7 minutes to respond.
Senator Veronica, allow me to ask the Secretariat, because they are the custodians of the Hansard, to give us the true position. Very well. I'm informed, according to the Hansard, that at the interruption of debate, the Honorable Catherine Muma was on the floor, and she had a balance of 7 minutes. If the Honorable Catherine Muma is in the House, she can take the floor. If she's not in, then I will call Senator Manzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very delighted to support this bill brought by the Honorable Mugatana and say that human dignity is one of very, very important essentials in our Constitution, and that particular issue of preservation of human dignity and enforcement of economic and social rights bill under the Constitution, a lot of legislation has to be enacted to take to effect some of those provisions of several things given in the Bill of Rights, and one of it is treating human beings with dignity. Part of the socio-economic bit of it is able to make sure that people have provision of water, their provision of all essentials, health, those essential things. In all those articles of the Constitution, there is that legislation will be made so that it can be brought to effect. And I want to say that human dignity runs from so many things. Land rights, it goes on to so many other activities. It goes to so many other activities such that you can be able to deal with quite a number of issues which have not been implemented. Historical injustices, there has been commissions dealing with one thing or another, conclusions made, and then there's no implementation at all. If there is historical injustice whereby the government needed to compensate, you find that that compensation has not taken effect. When it comes to social rights and economic rights, it should be that the country is balanced so that when we make a budget, we are able to cover every aspect of the nation. I like what the nominated member has just said from the North, that the North is the future of this country, Mr. Speaker. If the North has security, the North has a lot of land, the North has a lot of rivers. If all that water is tapped, then people will have enough food, then there will be development. The biggest companies will be made in that particular part of the world. In the example of America, the Northwest, California and all those desert states were for many years neglected. But when they did Hoover Dam in Las Vegas, in the middle of a desert, there's a lot of agricultural activity which takes place from that particular area, and economic activity has gone there. Las Vegas is a town, which is a very big commercial town, has been started in the middle of a desert. So these are some of the things we need to look at so that you balance the country. We make sure that there are no disadvantaged people. We make sure that we don't have 10 billionaires and 50 million poor people. People cannot be able to put food on the table. People cannot be able to, when they get violations of their rights, they cannot be attended to. There has been many abuses which has gone unattended, and it has to be a mixture of many things. How the police works with the people, how to implement some of the acts. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of regulations which have expired in a lot of acts of Parliament. I'm sitting in the Committee of Delegated Legislation with Honorable Mugatana, and Mofire is our chairman. When the law provides clearly that the minister should bring them for renewal to us, then they want to hide behind the Attorney General. The law says the minister. So therefore, the minister should present the regulations to this House, to our committee. We approve or we disapprove. They make them again. Or we work together with them, we make sure there are regulations. One of the good examples is the Public Order Act. There are regulations which were made in the year 2000 by the then Attorney General, who was a senator here, Amos Wako, which were wonderful regulations. Expired in the year 2010. There was a leeway of 2 years. Nobody renewed them. So recently, when there are issues, and the leader of a minority is charged in a court, and then we realize there are no regulations to implement the Public Order Act, what is the process of declaring an assembly illegal. And therefore, consequently, after a few days, although there were other factors, the same matter is withdrawn from court because it cannot be sustained for lack of regulations. So when these laws are made, they are also implemented with regulations and to make them effective and to make them be able to serve, for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, as our motto goes. And therefore, this sort of legislation is extremely important. It is not the only one. There are quite a number of other laws, other acts of parliament, which have to still be enacted under the provisions of the Constitution to be able to meet different purposes, especially economic and social rights, so that we have a just society. We have a society where when you want to register a company and you are a foreigner or you are a local person, it is efficient. We have a situation whereby if there is human rights violation, like it has happened in the North, then that matter is able to be investigated and followed, so that whoever person has been killed accidentally or by mistake, they are able to be compensated. And therefore, when we go to third reading, we want to enrich what Honorable Mugatana has done so that the law can be potent and can be able to serve the people of Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Senator